when he said 3,400 miles an hour, I made the effort to track him down after his talk and got the name of the client and actually talked to this client, who was a sergeant in the the Air Force. His name was Dave Wallace, and he had been on the DEW line with the big stationary ballistic missile radars that they had, the BMUS system. And he said, yes, we tracked them at 3,400 miles an hour, and he says the interesting part of it was we tracked them 300 and 400 miles out in space. And he says we complained to the radar people. It was General Electric had built the system, and so we kept reporting this stuff, and they kept telling us we couldn't report that stuff out there. So we said, well, we are doing it, and it is real. And so they came in and actually made movies of the scope. And when they took them back and analyzed what they were seeing, they came back and put a fix into the radar so their distance into space was like 12 or 15 miles. They said that's all the ballistic missiles will ever go. You don't need to see any further. So they just limited the receivers to where they would, the scope to where it would only expand to where they could see 12 or 15 miles out in space. I talked to a lady came forward about 2 years ago that was an Army radar operator stationed in California during the 50s, and she also reported that she had tracked craft at 3,400 miles an hour, which seemed to be a kind of a common speed at that point. But she said that she had done that with the Army, and that they too would refuse to report. Never met the man, but I talked to him on the phone, and he had been in the Navy, and he had tracked on a destroyer in the Gulf of Mexico. They had tracked an underwater craft, and there were a squadron of ships on maneuvers in the Gulf, and they said that they had a solid target from 2 or 3 of these ships, and that they tried to we call it hemming it in. You try to get over it and around it where it can't get away from you. And they said it escaped every time they tried to do that, and then it would stop, and they'd go back and get it. And it was kind of like it was playing with them. And they did that for 2 or 3 hours one day, and it finally took off.